Okay, we are officially live. Just want to make sure everything is up and running. And happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to another installment. And I want to say this is going to be a special podcast episode edition of Transformation Greatness along with SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. I am your host here, Sean A. White. And today, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a podcast dedicated as far as to the first role model, someone that was very instrumental as far as in my upbringing and growth and development, in which, quite frankly, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her instrumental teachings. And so we're going to be doing a dedication on Louise K. White. And it's very fitting because today is her birthday, guys. So happy birthday to Louise K. White. And so before we go ahead and get rocking and rolling, for all those that are in the listening audience, if you can do me a favor, if you will, if you can put in the hashtag live, let me know exactly where you're tuning in from. And hey, if you should be catching this on a replay because we understand it's a Sunday, but do me a favor, put in hashtag replay. Let me know exactly where you tune in from, and more importantly, if this content resonates with you. So, who am I, and why should you listen to me? I want to get all the bells and whistles out of the way because, again, this is not about me. It's about the individual in which we're going to be speaking on. So, again, my name is Sean A. White, folks. I'm the founder and creator of this brand, which is called Transformation Greatness, which is all about motivating, encouraging, and inspiring the masses. With that, I've been developed the skill set of not only being a speaker, a coach, a hypnotherapist, practitioner, but in addition, I'm a radio and TV personality with SBN, the Small Business Network. Thus, this is why it's Transformation Greatness and SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. And I'm a part of a lot of different organizations. So with that being said, this is a dedication for someone in which that her birthday is today. So shout out to all my Leos. So if you're a lion, do me a favor, if you will. If you're catching this on the live or the replay, put in like a lion emoji or a roar emoji, right? My Leos, they know exactly what I'm talking about. This is for someone that she was my mom, still is my mom, and August 17th, 1946. Whew, sounds like a long time, right? Different era. I tell you, different era. This is where Louise K. White was actually born. And thus, she was placed in this world for a purpose. And I believe that she fulfilled her assignment. Just want to set the stage, if you will, of who my mother was. She was an individual that was very independent. She was firm but fair. She was the type of individual that can light up a room. Literally, she was like super, super funny, but yet she maintains her level of not only professionalism, but also decency and knew on how it was to truly carry her essence. And if I can be transparent here, now, mind you, me and my mom growing up, we didn't have the greatest, of relationships. I definitely want to put that out there. And she was a single parent of three. But there were so many different things in which that I've learned as far as from Louise K. White. Unfortunately, she left us in January of 1997. So if she was still around today physically, she would have been 79 years young. Thus, I said young, not old, right? But I learned a lot of different things about that. And Justice, thank you so much for coming out and definitely, I appreciate you, my friend. So, Justice Louise K. White, who was she? As I was mentioning, she was someone that was fierce. She was someone that was firm but fair. She definitely believed in hard work and a solid work ethic. Man, so many times I used to see her, and my twin sister, by the way, we would see her literally. She would come home, right? Monday through Friday, work faithfully, right? She was a keyboard specialist, and she would be tired, but yet at the same token, that would never stop her from making sure that there was food on the plate. Always made sure that we had clean and fresh clothes, fresh water, roof over our heads. And that was something that's being a single parent. You know, when you're young, you really don't appreciate that, right? As kids, right? Naturally. So you want on what you want, right? You definitely want on what you want. And our minds cannot grasp on the level of sacrifice that it takes to be a parent, let alone a single parent. And it was so refreshing, I guess, if you will, just to see on how the way that she went about her day, right? Because what it did is that it set the stage, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that a lot of the qualities and the work ethic would basically boil down to me and my sisters as well. So one of the things in which that I learned from Miss White is this: is that anything that you want in this life, be willing to work at. Work at it, my friend. Very rarely the amount of time that she was me and her were together on this planet, because she left us when I was 19 years of age, was that everything that she got, she worked hard for it. Now, mind you, guys, we're talking about this is like in the 70s and 80s, so you can pretty much imagine. Obviously, she didn't have technology that we have access to, so you had to do it the old-fashioned way. You had to grind for it, you had to work for it, you had to get your hustle on for it, right? Legally, right? And I remember a lot of times where she would instill certain things within us to be thank you, my friend. I definitely appreciate that. um, I remember a lot of times I would see her and just the work ethic alone, right? Just being independent. Anything in which that you wanted, you had to work hard at it. So especially for me as being a young black male raised in the hood, she would definitely be more so, I believe, harder on me than with my sisters. And I couldn't understand why she was being more hard on me, but then I realized as I got older is because I was entering a world where already had two strikes against me. What do you mean by that, Sean? What do you mean by having two strikes against you? Meaning that I'm young and I'm a black man in America. And so because of that and everything in which transpired, obviously, I don't have to regurgitate what our ancestors went through. You guys all know or have a general idea, obviously. But just having that alone, she wanted to toughen me up and make me as far as to be a man and develop life skills as quick as possible. Because what I was going to experience in the world would be nothing in comparison, right, to what I was experiencing as a young kid. Because remember, we're kids, obviously, right? That's pretty much basic. So one of the things that she definitely taught me is as far as with work ethic. I remember my first job when I was 7 years old, 7 or 8 years old, and I believe I was working as a bag boy or a packer for C-Town, which was a grocery store in our neighborhoods. And I remember I used to go there and pack bags, and I would help people as far as what would their bags go, as far as like to their apartments. And it gave me a sense of independence, right? A sense of entrepreneurship. Like, wow, this is pretty cool, man. Like, okay, so if I can do this, what else more can I do? Right. And that was a start of something amazing of just, developing different hustles, right? From that to lemonades to other things as well. And that was pretty cool. So I believe, as far as my mother was the first one, really, guys, to instill that work ethic and instill that entrepreneur spirit. That's the first thing. The second thing is this: is that she helped develop within me a self confidence. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that she told me anything that's worthwhile in this world, anything that you're looking to accomplish. I don't care if you're looking to become a speaker, a writer, or coach, an actor, an actress, a CEO, whatever it is, do it to the fullest and do it with excellence. I remember that like a broken record. And I used to look at her and be like, Mom, I'm trying, right? I'm trying. And she used to get on me because I was so gifted intellectually. And I felt like I was doing my best, right? But in actuality, I really, really wasn't. So she's seen something within me being the coach and the motivator, in which that she only knew how, right? You can guys can use your imagination accordingly. But she's seen something within me that I couldn't see within myself. Have you guys ever heard this expression? You can't see the forest when you're in the frame. There you go. That was her. Because when we're in the moment, when we think that this is all in which that we can do, we always need somebody that been there, done that, to push us and give us another perspective. And like, no, that's not all that you can do. You're limitless. And so really instilling that self-confidence was definitely very, very important. And I remember too that because I see her work so hard, right? And I used to see her like effortlessly, right? Just making sure that we had things, right? We made sure that on holidays, on Christmases, that we didn't skip a beat. We didn't have everything that we wanted. Trust you when I tell you. But we never knew what a hungry day was like, if that makes sense. And that is something that, as a parent, we think about it now as we become of age, right? And all the lessons in which that our parents try to instill to us when we were younger. And as we get older, we see, as far as what, regardless of the fact of what we thought, that it may be the raising, that they may have raised us hard or maybe even disciplined or strict. Think about now of where we're at because of that. And so for Louise K. White, I definitely appreciate her for that. And number three, she became my first role model. And why I say that is because, again, I used to always marvel at her level of consistency, right? Getting up every day, right? Going to work, making things happen, right? Doesn't matter as far as if she's sick, if she's tired, she's not feeling good, regardless, because she's like, listen, I have a household to run and I have a son and I have to set the example. And she did everything that she could within her power to raise up a good, solid, individual and citizen. And for that, Mom, I want to tell you, because I know you are watching down from heaven, you did an absolutely fantastic job. And I wish that physically you were here where I can give you your flowers. And so I have learned over the course of time. And again, guys, I said this earlier. Me and my mom, we didn't have the greatest of relationships. We used to clash a lot of times in terms of personalities. She was very strict. She was very hardcore. She is very much black and white. That's how it is. That's how it was. But yet and still, a lot of principles that she had taught me, it still rings true to this day, such as that no excuses, get it done. If this is what you want, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to commit in order to go ahead and make that happen? I remember times where I needed help as far as with my homework, even in math or in reading or in history. And I think one of the greatest things she ever did, and some people, what I'm about to say, they may say, oh man, that's kind of cruel, it's kind of tough. But I think one of the greatest things she did is actually not help me. You want to know what she used to tell me a lot of times? Look it up, research it. I used to think a lot of times that my mother didn't know the answer. But when I did the research and when I found the answer and I explained the answer to her, not only did she know the answer, but she went more in depth and detail about it. And it used to blow my mind every single time. And I used to even get frustrated too. And I'd be like, Mom, why you just couldn't tell me the answer to begin with? And she used to always say this verbatim. If I tell you the answer, son, then how will you learn to find the answer? Hmm. Isn't that so true, ladies and gentlemen? As entrepreneurs, as people in general, we want to be spoon fed. We want to be able to be given the answer right then and there. But how many of us is willing to do the research? How many of us is willing to hire a mentor or get with other entrepreneurs that been there, done that, and that's willing to learn and glean from them? Hmm. So I believe individuals from my mother's generation, from the 40s and 50s and 60s, from that era time frame, the baby boomers, were definitely a different breed of individuals. Absolutely. Just the mindset, how the way they went about their business. Obviously they would be considered as our parents and grandparents and great grandparents. Just something special. And that's part of the reason why, for myself, I love to connect with others that been there, done that. I love to speak with the elders, if you will, just to glean from them and learn from their wisdom and knowledge because they've been through some stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And it would behoove me to not pay attention to that or take heed because these are life lessons. And so Mama K. White, Louise K. White, aka Wheezy, as affectionately known by a lot of people, she will always have a special place in their hearts, especially with mine. And one of the things that really stuck out with me, and then I'll go ahead and close on this, and this is something that blew my mind away, and what really had me thinking about legacy at a young age, is that on her wake and funeral, well, rather, I'm sorry, wake because she got cremated based upon her wishes, is that I seen so many people arrive for her wake. And I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people from her job, from her public school, from a junior high school, from her high school, from everyone literally in their neighborhood. And guys, I am not exaggerating when I say that. And just hearing of all the great things, of hearing of how Mama White motivated them, encouraged them, inspired them, give them sound counsel, wisdom, help them out in this situation, help them out in that situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just like, whoa. But that taught me something. I said, Sean, when you turn your life around and when you here to serve and not be served, people will remember you. She laid a foundation and a legacy as an example that while you're here on earth, if you help enough people get what they want and you serve without any expectation, without asking for anything back in return, what will happen is that when it's time for you to transition to the next phase of life, you will be remembered and your name will live on. Something I wanted you all to go ahead and think about every single time I have been doing this tribute. There's always something different that I get, always a new memory, a fondest memory, always something I can extrapolate, I'm sorry, take away from, if you will, and share. Because I believe there's someone out there that may be feeling like, you know what, I do all this hard work. It's a thankless service. You parents know exactly what I'm talking about. And yet I don't get the honor, I don't get the recognition, I don't get the credit. Nobody sees as far as what I'm doing. Is it worth it? All those things that go through your mind and your spirit. And I just want to tell you guys that you are worthy. You are doing a fantastic job, an amazing job. And it doesn't matter if people are watching, it doesn't matter if people are paying attention. Trust me, the creator, he definitely sees it. And he will make sure that your name is celebrated for generations and generations to come. Because what's happening is that you are becoming a standard in which people in your tribe and in your circle will want to emulate and follow. If this is something that truly resonates with you, if you got a lot from this, by all means, do me a favor. Go ahead and like, comment, and share this out. Also, put in as far as your takeaways and what's that really pierced or really, got to you. What were some of the aha moments, if you will? I would love as far as to hear back from you. And also, please stay tuned. There's a lot of great stuff that's going on. I'm going to be posting out a lot of content on various different things, so definitely stay glued to that. Of course, if anything intrigues you, by all means, just message me. Let's go ahead and have a conversation because part of my brand and what I do in all different projects and different ventures in which that I have, ultimately, it's really all about serving the community and serving the people, and let's see as far as on what truly resonates with you and how we can go ahead and connect the dots, if you will. So until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't remember what's this podcast episode number is, but I'm going to go ahead and once I get the information, I'll go ahead and update that. So that's totally fine. But until then, folks, if what I stated on here either motivated, transformed, or inspired at least one person, then may God be the glory, and I take no credit for absolutely none of it. Until then, you're all amazing. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Sunday afternoon. By His grace and mercy, look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Peace and love, family. Thank you so much for your time. Be blessed.